So he got in there and said, well, I'm real sorry, we can't get to where the money is. And I said, do you have anything loose? And he said, no. And this man made this remark. He said, well, I'll just blow this thing all to hell. But I said, now wait just a minute. We have teller's cages, and if you'll just be patient. He said, all right, pick the case up and let's go. And we went around and went back, and we got to the first two. And this is the only one that we got into to get the money. By that time, the plainclothesmen had come in, and I'm always glad to see them.
Who actually turned in the burglar alarm, the robbery alarm?
Well, I'm sure there's several. I think switchboard operator probably did.
She knew what was going on?
Yes.
How did you let her know what was going on?
Well, we have a way of knowing, you know, the sign.
What goes through a man's mind when a fellow walks up to him and says he's going to blow him to smithereens if he doesn't do what he says?
I imagine a lot of things go through your mind. You wonder what he
went
would
through
do.
your mind?
Well, what I went through my mind was I want to get the man the money so he wouldn't hurt anybody in the bank. I didn't want anyone to hurt. But you wonder sometimes if a guy might get scared, you know, and then really do something that he shouldn't do. But I tried to act calm.
Mr. Johnson, how did you find the aircraft?
Making a routine check of my cattle.
And in what condition was it when you found it?
Just as it is right now.
Can you tell about how long it's been here? Have you made any other routine checks and may have missed it?
Oh, no. I was through here late yesterday, and I'll say around 5:30.
And
I wasn't here then.
So in other words, it was between 5:30 and this morning?
That's right.
Is there an airstrip around here anywhere?
No, sir. Not closer than Weatherford, or between here and Weatherford, that I know of.
In other words, it probably just got engine failure and went down here.
That would be my idea about it.
In other words, you don't think that it was trying to make a landing at an airstrip and missed?
No, evidently they knew it wasn't an airstrip unless it was dark and they were just guessing.
Was the plane hot when you got here?
Oh, no. No, it's just like it is now.
In other words, it had been here for several hours.
I'm sure it must have down last night when it was raining so hard, because it didn't burn much grass around or anything. So I think it evidently went down early last night while it was raining so hard.
And nobody around here heard anything last night. Are there any houses near here?
No, I'm the closest to it. I live over about a mile and a half to my house, and I'm the closest house to it.
Well, no unusual problem. You can appreciate the fact that when 15 individuals get together and are responsible for selecting, for instance, $2 million worth of arithmetic textbooks for the state, that there would be differences of opinion.
Now, the literature textbooks have been criticized for their language, some of it four-letter.
Yes, I am violently opposed to much of the language that's used in some of the literature books that are being proposed.
Have you voted against them?
I have submitted a formal protest to our state textbook committee, asking them to take the language of the gutter out of our literature books. I do believe that we ought to provide a broad background for our young people. I do not think that we ought to expose them to the language of the gutter.
Well, Dr. Estes, are you opposed to those science textbooks that are alleged to teach evolution as a fact rather than a theory?
I think some of the science textbooks that have been presented present the theory of evolution unfairly. They do not present the theory of evolution in an objective fashion, and I object strenuously to the way it's presented.
Personally, you are pitching for books that tend to the minority student more. Could you explain?
Yes, 37% of the boys and girls in the state of Texas are representative of ethnic minorities. About 40% of the students in the state of Texas come from the 7 large school districts in the state. And I feel that I should represent these students, and therefore I'm pushing for textbooks that would be appropriate and relevant to the needs of the big cities.
Captain Hug, could you describe the operation last night?
The operation last night was based on after indictment warrants that were involved in about 3.5 months of undercover work by 2 of our undercover officers.
What form did this undercover work take?
These 2 officers we had working in the field as undercover agents were posing as hippies, and their primary objective was to infiltrate some of the drug abuse problem areas that we have here in Fort Worth.
Steve, this is your senior year, the year regarded as the Wooster year of recruiting. You 34 fellows have stuck together pretty well, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I think we have. I'm real happy that all the guys have stayed together this long. I'm kind of worried about it, but it's come along real good.
What type of inducements did Coach Royal make you when he recruited you for Texas?
Inducement?
Bad word. What did he tell you?
Well, actually, they just more or less gave me a really good idea that they wanted me to come here, and they were really interested in me. But that was about it, I guess.
Looking back on your past 2 years, does any one game stand out?
I think the one that really stands out more than anything to me is the Oklahoma game when we first started, when I was a sophomore, when we came from behind, made a long drive and won. That always stands out in my head real well.
How do you feel following in the footsteps of Miss America, Phyllis George?
Oh, it's quite something to do, but I kept thinking about what it would be like to fill the shoes of Phyllis George, but I finally decided that I can't because she's a totally different person than what I am, and I've got to just create my new place as Miss Texas, and I hope that everyone else will look at it that way too, and not think of it necessarily as filling the shoes, but creating a new place in Texas.
Well, everyone has feelings, everyone has emotions. I still believe, however, that a lot of laxity is due to a lack of discipline. There's a lack of discipline in the home, and then it breeds into society. Also, thank God to Christ for His blessings. The grace of the Lord and His Word are not preached and practiced enough. I will also say, although I'm not an authority on this, that basically it's also the fault of a lot of politicians who liberalize with the evils of today. There's only one way, either hot or cold, and they're taking the middle road, and you can't get nowhere this way. The respect of authority has gone down. Let's get along with them. You can't get along with evil. You have to get it out. And until you do that, you're going to have trouble. And that's what's happening today. They're mixing with each other, and they think they can find a solution by compromise. And you can't do it. It's either right or wrong.
If fairly stiff landing fees were charged, both general aviation aircraft and air carrier aircraft. This would induce the users of runway space to economize on their use of runway space, and at the same time it would make more funds available for expansion of the amount of runway space that's available.
What happens if the air carrier passes this increase in price along to the consumer, in this case the passenger, though?
I see no reason why this should not be done. Obviously, where the congestion occurs, the passengers are willing to pay more for the service than they're currently paying.